وقل جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I wanted to do a quick video that I felt needed to be done. I will return to the David Wood series that I was doing after this video, but I wanted to do this one quickly because this is something I saw on brother Kenny Bomer's channel the other day. He had a discussion with an arrogant Christian, this guy over here, and the discussion went on for 3 hours. I didn't see the whole thing. But there was a specific segment that I wanted to respond to, which really disturbed me. I want to talk specifically about this segment where he's trying to justify the biblical verses that call for genocide and killing of women and children and babies. And I've heard every excuse under the sun for these verses. But the excuse that he gave, and it's an excuse that I've also heard before, I think it really needs to be discussed, and it needs to be shown how hypocritical these people are, how they try to justify murdering a baby. So listen and let's see what he says, and then I'll respond. He actually made a very serious error, which just shows he doesn't even know his own Bible when he made this excuse.
Okay, so was this in regards to when God told them to go smite all the villagers and kill all the animals, all the humans, babies?
No matter what context. Listen, no matter what context you put it in.
No. I'll put it in this context. Was this to do with the fact that when the fallen angels came into the wives of men and had mixed breed, demonic, so that's when you have all the giants, and was that to do with annihilating the seed of Satan off earth so it couldn't reproduce because they were all giants and they were coming back with...
Look what he's doing. He's justifying the slaughter of babies, the mass murder of babies and children, by claiming that these people, all the nations that were selected for extermination were demonic. They were a mixed breed. They were basically less than human. They weren't humans. They came from a mixed background of fallen angels and humans procreating. That's his excuse for the genocide. Now, why is that disturbing? Well, it's disturbing because every single genocidal madman or maniac in the history of the world has used similar excuses for justifying mass murder. Right? When you try to justify killing somebody, innocent people, how do you justify it to the masses? You justify it by dehumanizing the victims. When we think of genocide, the first thing usually people can think of is the Holocaust, right? The Holocaust resulted in the deaths of millions of people, Jews, Gypsies, other ethnic groups that were victimized by the Nazis. How did they justify killing these people? They did that by dehumanizing them. So the Nazis referred to Jews as rats, as subhuman. And this is the exact same excuse this guy is using, and that is sickening. This is what trying to justify the unjustifiable does. You make excuses that only an evil person would make. And it's a shame that they don't see this. They don't see the irony. And they don't see the hypocrisy. Then these same people will turn around and say that Islam is violent, which is just unbelievable. You believe that your God commanded the slaughter of innocent babies. So who are you to criticize Islam about anything? Because Islam categorically prohibits killing women and children, the unarmed, right? Especially children. It's just amazing that they think that this is a legitimate excuse. Here's a good article. It's a discussion by author David Livingstone Smith, who talks about how in history, human history, we have used the ideology of dehumanizing other people to justify mass murder. And look how he begins. Look how the article begins. During the Holocaust, Nazis referred to Jews as rats. Hutus involved in the Rwandan genocide in 1995 called Tutsis cockroaches. Slave owners throughout history considered slaves subhuman animals, using terms like rats, cockroaches. When we think of these words, we think of what? Vermin, pests, right? Things to be exterminated. So, right, this is how you justify cruelty and genocide. And going further down, he mentions specifically how the Nazis described Jews as Untermenschen, or subhuman. And that's how Hitler and his cronies were able to justify sending millions of people to their deaths in the concentration camps. And this repeated again in 1995 in the Rwandan genocide. It happened in Bosnia with the thousands of people that were killed. Because again, the justification was that these people are our enemies. We need to get rid of them. They're vermin. They are subhuman. They're demons. Whatever they are. Right? This is how you justify it. Now, the Christian speaker was referring to the giants or the Nephilim, and this is specifically mentioned in Genesis 6, when the sons of God saw the daughters of men, daughters of humans, and they married them and had children. And the result of this union were the Nephilim, the men of renown who were allegedly giants. Now, the sons of God have been interpreted differently by Christians. Many Christians in modern times believe that the sons of God were not angels, but rather just regular human beings who had become sinful. But if you look at the historical interpretation in the early church fathers, for example, the sons of God were indeed referred to as angels. It was believed that they were angels. Right? So the Christian is using this chapter to claim that the Canaanites, the nations that were marked for destruction in the later books of the Pentateuch, were the seed of this union. They were the descendants of this union. This flagrantly contradicts what the Bible says. What happens after the chapter discusses the Nephilim? It talks about Noah and the flood. The flood which covered all the earth. And what was the result of it? Genesis 7 states, if we go down to verse 20, the waters rose and covered the mountains to a depth of more than 15 cubits. Every living thing that moved on land perished, birds, livestock, animals, all the creatures that swarm over the sea, and all mankind. Everyone was wiped out. The only ones who survived were Noah, his wife, their 3 sons, and their wives. So 8 people in total, plus the animals that were on the ark. That's it. Everybody else died. So that means the Nephilim, the seed, the so-called demonic mixed breed children of the angels and humans, they all died. No one survived. Now, it's possible that the Christian was also referring to Numbers 13, specifically verse 33, which also mentions the Nephilim. So when Moses sent spies to survey the land and the people in the land, they came back and they were frightened. And one of them said, "We saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from Nephilim. We seem like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them." So he's talking about how these people are, powerful and dangerous, and apparently giants. But this again contradicts Genesis 7, which states that every living person on the earth died after the flood, during the flood. So these people, the Canaanites living in this area, could not be the descendants of the Nephilim or related to them.